I'll show you some steps for post-production in a simplified way, knowing that in this case we are doing the fusion of two shots with fairly different visual components. I do it with PixInsight, but you can easily handle it with Deep Sky Stacker or Cirrel. I've gotten used to using this powerful tool, PixInsight, and I want to take advantage of its qualities. So the first step is stacking the frames. What I do is put all the frames together in the weighted batch pre-processing for a single processing with all three types of frames we chose to photograph. So unfiltered, with LQ filter, with L-para filter. Once I've inserted the lights, I insert the flats for each filter and the related dark flats and the darks, which, since they have the same temperature and the same exposure time, are the same for all frames. So just one is enough. We move to the status bar at the top until the section indicates calibration. And here we select for each master light of each filter, we are using the color camera. So we select CFA and Bayer Matrix RGGB, which is the Bayer Matrix used for ZWO cameras. Same thing for the flats, which must be indicated as color frames. So we select CFA. We specify the folder where the finished process should be placed and tell it to proceed with the automatic reference file selection. So we click Run to start the process and wait for it to finish. Now I speed everything up so as not to lengthen the video time, please. Before proceeding with stacking the frames, check all the single frames individually. PixInsight has a script called Blink that allows you to quickly verify. So you can see if there are irregularities in each frame, like elongated stars, too bright gradients, airplanes passing through. In short, these files should be discarded before stacking, so as to have a final frame as clean as possible. We then open the result obtained from our three frames. You see they all tend to green. Apply Graxpert quickly on all three to remove gradients, and let's see a moment the difference between the unfiltered frame and the frame with the LQF filter, and now also the L-para filter. I repeat, this, as you have seen, is the result of stacking 5 300-second frames per filter on M8, the brightest nebula in the sky. We proceed with a quick processing. Starting with the unfiltered frame, I apply spectrometric photocolor calibration to adjust the colors. At this point, we stretch the image using screen transfer function and histogram transformation. I activate the real-time preview, reset from the status bar, the screen transfer function, and the image turns black. And directly from the open script, instead we select the nuclear button to stretch the image. Here the script shows us how the image may look stretched, but with the help of histogram transformation, we consolidate the stretch. So we drag the little triangle of screen transfer function down onto the base of the histogram transformation bar that applies the stretch. And as you see, the preview turns white. To apply it definitively to the image, all that remains is to click the square at the bottom left, and our image also turns white. At this point, we reset the stretch, and our frame has been stretched in 2 simple steps. Now, at this point, we remove the stars from the image for separate processing between nebulosity and stars. This makes it so that every change we make to the nebulosity does not create anomalies in the stars, which are already very good without any retouch. Maybe they just need a bit of color. So 2 separate processes. I use StarX Terminator, which creates for me an image with nebulosity and an image with stars. Of course, later I will have to join everything together. We do the same process also for the other 2 images, so also for the frame with the LQF filter and the same for the frame with the L-para filter. So same processing for all 3 frames. We save the frames in 16-bit TIFF to handle everything with Photoshop. Okay, so in Photoshop we handle the starless nebulas. I loaded all 3 frames for a small retouch: the unfiltered frame, the LQF filtered frame, and the L-para filtered frame. We proceed with something simple. The integration is light, but we can improve them a bit. At the bottom right, we have the layers. We duplicate the background layer by dragging it onto the plus sign. This is to then have a sequence in the editing of what we do and be able to go back if we don't like it. We remove a bit of green since, having an RGGB Bayer matrix, it's certainly more accentuated. On the top bar, we click Image, then find Adjustments below, and again look for Levels and click. The Levels dialog opens where we can see the histogram of our photo. We go to Channels and select Green. Below the histogram, we take the dark level slider and move it up just a little, say 5 points, to our histogram. Now we try to better adjust the colors and do the same on the blue channel. Moving the dark slider toward our histogram, say 2 points. Click the Preview button and we see a slight color tone improvement. Continuing on the top bar, again find Filter and then Camera Raw filter. Camera Raw opens, we go to Contrast and raise it up to 70 points. Okay, looks good. And we lower the blacks by, say, 30 points. Okay, I think we removed that white haze, and we have a nice contrast between the sky background and the nebulosity. The color is also brightened enough for being only 5 frames, so it seems very good. Actually, I didn't expect to get all this signal. At the bottom, we can click to preview before and after applying Camera Raw, and click OK. Now we look at the image noise by zooming in. You see, there's quite a bit as I expected. We then apply Noise Exterminator, maybe not too strong, because with little integration we could make things worse instead of better. We leave it at 70 points with 20 detail. Okay, good. I'll stop here. Let's see the result by recombining the stars. So we go back to PixInsight, open the starless frame files and the star files for M8 without filter. At this point we open Pixel Math and click Use Single RGB Expression. Then we indicate the name of the files that must interact with each other. I name the file M8 No Filter Starless. I click plus on the keyboard and insert star no filter, so simple addition between 2 images. Then I check the output image settings. I leave generate output color space selected, must be RGB. Sample format must be as target to have a color image corresponding to the original image. Then I click the square to apply the process, and here's the final image. It looks nice, but the stars are a bit yellowish. I didn't touch them, they were left as they were. Now I do a small retouch on the stars before the final image. So we open only the stars, give them a bit of color, we open Curves, Transformation, and open the real-time preview before applying the process. Then we click on S for Saturation to give some color to the stars. On the middle diagonal, we click and drag upward to increase saturation. The stars have colored. I'd say that's good. A bit too green though, so we switch to G for green, and on the green diagonal, we click and lower the green tone a bit. Now I'd say the color is more pleasing. Okay, for the stars, we can stop here. So we've seen a complete processing of the image from start to end. A basic processing that can be broadened with many other processes, or in any case, a workflow that you can follow using PixInsight and Photoshop and manage our images with a pleasant result anyway. But now we move to the core of this video, that is the fusion/combo of the LQEF filter and the Alpera filter. For both, we remained at the stretch done in PixInsight, and then we removed the stars. We only need to proceed in the same way we used for the previous unfiltered image. For the frame with the LQEF filter and with the Alpera filter, we proceed exactly in the same editing style. So we remove a bit of green with levels, remembering also to adjust blue, add a good bit of contrast, 70 points, and lower the blacks by 30 points. Finally, we apply Noise Exterminator, again with somewhat low settings to avoid damaging the image. When we make the combo, all characteristics, both detail and noise, will be added. So it would be better, in my opinion, to try to clean up the images a bit to avoid stacking noise upon noise. Okay, moving on to PixInsight, we can also add the stars. But before getting there, let's do a recap. So to recap, we processed the starless images of the LQEF and Alpera filters. We stretched them, gave contrast, detail, and removed noise, or at least partially. At this point, we take the images from the filters and split the channels. So we will have red corresponding to the H alpha signal, and blue and green corresponding to O3. For this combo, we will use the red channel. As you see, the other 2 channels are full of signal too. So nothing forbids doing a combo also with the O3 channels. For now, we only save the red channel in 16-bit TIFF and go back to Photoshop. We leave 3 photos open for this editing. The starless photo of the LQEF filter, the starless photo of the Alpera filter, the starless photo of the Alpera filter, but only the red channel. Okay, now we look in Photoshop at the red channel of the Alpera filter. Having taken only this channel, it will be monochrome. If we can, let's do a bit more adjustment to this channel because it will be very useful for the fusion. We enter Camera Raw, drop the blacks a bit, and maybe in this case also the highlights. I wouldn't want the image to look too saturated. We click OK, let's say like that. As the base of our combo, we will use the LQF filter image. So we go to the top layer, select it, and from layers go to channels, where here we can see the division of the 3 channels according to trichromy, red, green, blue. Next to the channels layer, we have an eye icon. We turn off the green and blue eyes, leaving only the red channel on, and click on the red channel to select it. Now on the top bar, we go to Select, All, and the entire frame is selected. Then we go on the top bar to Edit, Copy. Now we move to the H alpha of the L-para filter. We select again Layers, and on the top bar find Edit, and this time click Paste. Now we take the background layer of our L-para red and duplicate it by dragging it onto the plus icon. This newly created layer we move with the mouse as the topmost layer. It must be above the red channel of the LQF filter. Now to create the correct fusion between these 2 layers, we go to opacity and lower it to 40%. By right-clicking on this layer, a window appears and we select Merge Down. Good, we're at a good point. Now again, we must move everything and bring it back onto our LQF filter. So we go to Select, All, then Edit, Copy, and move to the starless LQF filter. We go again to Channels, where only the red filter remains selected, and go to Edit, Paste. Good. Now on Channels, we turn on the RGB eyes again, so we re-enable trichromy, and we see how the red channel of the LQF filter lights up. What we've done now is a classic H alpha RGB. I'll show you toggling between the history of the image, how it was before and how it's become now. Now we want to give this photo one more sprint to better merge these 2 frames filters and see all the H alpha detail. Now we go back to the L-para filter starless frame, turn off the eye of the top layer we created, select the background layer, and move it as is to the photo of the LQF filter we're editing. We go to Select, All. Now we go to Edit, Copy, and move to the LQF filter. We go to Edit, Paste, but we're not going to use it as is. We go to Mode and select the bottommost one, Luminosity. The image takes a strange color, so we have to fix it a bit. Then we move opacity and lower it to 20%. Okay, now zooming in the image, we see that inserting this channel has introduced lots of detail into the frame. Good, but the color still needs adjusting. We do another step to improve everything. We go now to the L-para filter starless frame, select the last available layer, and move it onto the photo we're merging. So we select All, Edit, Copy. Now we go again to the modified LQF filter photo, select Edit, Paste. Here too, we won't use this frame as is, but we apply a mode, this time color, and with opacity lower it to 40%. Okay, we're there. The 2 filters are fused. Do I always have to use these settings, especially with opacity, to merge layers? Well, let's say we can manage the settings as we want. We just need to keep in mind that overdoing it may saturate colors. You have to do some tests to understand what fusion style you like best. But the nice thing is that being able to manage from 0 to 100, there are many possibilities to merge images. This means they'll never all be the same, so quite customizable according to your taste. Of course, the result must be pleasant, but one thing I want to point out is that for this combo, we took the LQF filter frames and inserted the L-para filter frames as luminance and then as color. So the resulting image is no longer the sum of 5 frames as in this case, but the signal is amplified. Now I'll show you the result of these frames. Top left is my processing of M8 from 5 300-second frames without filter. Top right, we have the LQF filter, again 5 frames. Then bottom left, 5 frames with the L-para filter. And finally bottom right, the combo LQF L-para. As I told you at the beginning of the video, besides these few frames, I also did a long exposure on this image. And now, so we get to the serious stuff and see how it comes out with 14 hours of integration with the LQF filter. I processed the image handling gradients better, revisiting colors, contrasts, lights, sharpness, and here is the final result of my processing. I also did another 15 hours with the L-para filter. I processed that image adjusting gradients, contrast, light, colors, sharpness, and detail, and this is the final result of my processing. And now enjoy the show of the LQEF-L-Para combo. I then conducted a second series of tests. Again, 5 frames of 300 seconds each on the nebula NGC 7000, the North American nebula. Here, I immediately noticed that the nebula was less visible, less bright, let's say. Here too, I managed everything like in the previous frames. I stacked the frames with PixInsight, I removed gradients with GrainExpert and gave color to the nebula with spectrometric photocolor calibration, then stretched the image with histogram transformation and removed the stars with Star Terminator. Then switched to Photoshop to manage color, contrast, lights, and clean noise with Noise Exterminator. And finally, I gave a bit of color to the stars and recombined the nebulosity and stars. And this is my result. Also, for this second test, top right is the first image with 5-frame integration without filter, top left, the second image with LQ-CF filter, again 5 frames, then bottom left, integration of 5 frames each from 300 seconds with L-Para filter, and finally bottom right, the combo with LQ and L-Para filters. Also for this image, I extended integration with the LQ filter. I integrated almost 16 hours, handled gradients, contrast, light, colors, sharpness, and detail, and this is the result of my processing. I then integrated another 17 hours with the L-Para filter. I processed the image adjusting gradients, contrast, light, colors, sharpness, detail, and this is the final result of my processing. And here's again the combo with the LQ L-Para filter. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial. There is really so much to say. I made this summary and concentrated it in this video. Thanks again to Optolong for giving me the opportunity to speak and test their filters. If you have questions about the Fusion or how to handle broadband and narrowband frames, write me in the comments. Let me know if you've tried it, will try it, and what you think of this method. If you like the video and photos, give it a like, subscribe to the channel to stay updated on new content. A greeting to everyone, and clear skies.